Hokkaido is a cube of ice with a volcano on top of it. Its people are often considered a mixture of gentle and carefree, bit more of a rural personality in the views of the rest of Japan. Although the region is well urbanized, as you can tell by looking at Sapporo, its capital, they are considered to have a strong personality, which is the Japanese way to say they are straightforward and remarkably bold in comparison to the average shy and reserved Japanese you probably picture in your head. It is even a common joke to think on girls having the initiative. They're the ones proposing marriage to you, as well as the ones breaking it up. Dusanko, which is the demonym you use to call people from Hokkaido, might as well have a genetic mutation that makes them cold-proof. Otherwise, it is impossible to explain how the cow is possible to survive on this diabolic weather. We are talking of temperatures up to -20 degrees Celsius. If you were concerned by the globally known strict Japanese culture where face matters a lot and you're judged over just existing, you might feel comfortable in Hokkaido, as long as you don't have Egyptulophobia, fear of penguins. They're the different kind of Japanese that has a more relaxed view of life, and a penguin in their living room. Moving south lies Tohoku, a rural region producing a quarter of Japan's rice. Quite a feat, given that Japanese eat rice at the same rate cows eat grass. Its people is also considered to be shaped by harsh winters. Although it ain't as cold as Hokkaido is, they sure are colder in personality. Reserved, silent, yet famously patient and hardworking. The ground itself seems to also feel the cold. The whole place is shivering like crazy. While you get easily freaked out with small tremors, these dudes would get nauseous if you were to take them to a place that isn't shaking the whole day. Keeping our north to south rotation, we gotta start with Aomori, land of the Nebuta Matsuri, one of the most important celebrations in the entire country. The Aomori Nebuta Festival has nothing on the giganteous Chinese New Year celebration, and can even rival the biggest of carnivals of Latin America. If you're planning on making a travel to Japan, this is a must on your list. If you're feminist, this prefecture might be for you. They have an unusually big percentage of women-owned businesses, notable in a really conservative country as Japan is. It is common for Aomorian wives to be the decisive voice of the family. Next we have Akita. It is possible that by mentioning Akita, the dog breed came to your mind, then you perhaps remembered the movie and started crying like a little girl. As we all have. Known for exceptionally beautiful women, the whole country agrees on this so much, they even have a term for it, Akita Bijin, which literally translates to Akita Beauties. Moving a bit west, we find Iwate, the second largest prefecture after Hokkaido, which is mostly mountains and rugged coast. People are viewed as the ultimate stoics, quiet, serious, and perhaps the most Tohoku of all Tohoku people. They're known for wanko soba, bowls with noodles that you expect to eat fast like you've been starving for weeks. Then they refill until you look like this, or until you die from exhaustion. Whatever happens first. Now we step into Miyagi, the prefecture of Sendai, some kind of mini Tokyo, an urban place in the region. Imagine a city surrounded by farming villages, which happens to be the case in Tohoku. Villagers think city folks are snobs for not greeting everyone passing by. City folks think villagers speak funny, which isn't really different from the entire rest of the world. They have an insane obsession with gyutan and zunda, which they put on everything from mochi to milkshakes. It's Yamagata's turn. This place is 99% mountains and 1% cherry plantations, which happens to produce 70% of the whole nation's cherries. Here you can find the Yamadera Temple, basically your next wallpaper, and Mount Zao's ice monsters. Quick explanation, freezing winds shove and freeze water to one side of the pine trees, turning them into ghost shapes over time. Or at least it looks like ghosts to someone who really wants to believe in ghosts. Moving to Fukushima, we find a land of peaches and samurais. If you're obsessed with samurais, as I know many people is out there, this might be the place for you to visit. Fukushima literally translates to the fortune or lucky island, which is a bit ironic considering it is land that wants to build upwards. But then come the most violent earthquakes you can imagine to explain their counter-argument. 2011 surprised east of Tohoku with a magnitude 9 earthquake, followed by a 33 feet tsunami that destroyed a nuclear plant in Fukushima, causing the biggest nuclear disaster in the world since Chernobyl. Yet, their ability to recover from it is part of the region's resilient reputation. Tohoku people's personality is a good example of gaman, which is a Zen Buddhism concept that speaks about staying calm even if the situation gets real bad, so that you can face adversity better and recover faster. And you can bet your ass that this region really needed people who knows how to face adversities, although it is not the only region who would benefit of this practice. If you were thinking that Tohoku had too many mountains, wait until you see Chubu. It is home to Mount Fuji. You know, the cinematic mountain you've seen in every single anime and media that mentions Japan. And any other place in Chubu that is not a mountain is a factory. Chubu is the manufacturing backbone of the nation. Its people is seen as somewhat boring, often described like they're just too similar to Tokyoites or Osakans, depending on how close they are from each. Its northernmost prefecture is Niigata. They're specialized in the making of premium koshihikari rice and the top quality sake. Niigata is not the coldest region on Japan. That title belongs to Hokkaido. It doesn't even snow most of the year here. But when it does, you can bet you're going to be totally covered of it. Snowfalls are breaking national records almost every winter, and similar to what you all like to comment on all my videos, snow in the rest of Japan is casual, but in Niigata, it is ranked. This peninsula over here goes by the name of Ishikawa, and it's all about Kanazawa, which is known for being an important preservation place for traditional and historical Japan. It is kind of similar to Osaka, so you will find a lot of samurai structures, museums, and you can also find geishas roaming around. It is almost the only place on Japan where you can find gold leaf, and in big quantities. They're so obsessed they sell ice cream covered on it. I know it is glamorous, but I'm sure your stomach won't share the feeling. Moving just a bit south, we find Nagano. If you're old enough, you might recognize it for the 1998 Winter Olympics. It is also possible you have seen some references on all kinds of media to hot springs in Japan that are usually depicted with snow monkeys. This is the region it refers to, and the monkeys absolutely love to bath themselves on it. Next to it, you see Toyama, breathtaking landscape, scenarios that you thought were only possible on some real talented artist's masterpiece he made right after his biggest fever dream ever. Landscapes we all would like to own a house at, but since we can't, we at least try to find the closest to build a house, in Minecraft. Also known for their firefly squids, precious squids who emit a distinctive blue light and gather around March and May of every year to spawn on their beaches. A bit more to the south, we can find Gifu, home to the UNESCO Shirakawa-go thatched roof villages and the historic Nakasendo Trail. They're viewed as humble and the most traditional prefecture of Japan. Even the most of the conservative of Japanese visiting here describe this place as going back into a somewhat of a hidden time capsule that is forever stuck in the Edo period. Now, right below Ishikawa, you can find Fukui. They are portrayed as the happiest prefecture. Tojimbo has a lot of cliffs and all that stuff, but we all know we're here for the fossils. Every citizen has a mine of bones below their home, with major animals discovered here such as the Fukui raptor, Fukuisaurus, Fukui teton, Fukui venator, and Fukui pteryx. And as you can tell by the names, they're absolutely not worried about you mistaking them for some random Chinese dinosaur. His tiny one that is not connected to the sea is Yamanashi. If you go to Google and just type Japan, then filter by images, you'll notice how a lot of the images appearing here, and particularly the ones you've probably seen several times already. The ones with the pagodas, cherry blossoms, the iconic big mountain at the center, and sometimes a lake below, were most of them taken in this prefecture. It is one of the best panoramic view of Mount Fuji, for which it earned the privilege of being the Japan's profile picture, and I'm sure many among you have had it as a wallpaper at some time. Right next to it sits Shizuoka. The other half of the popular images you've seen when typing Japan sits on Yamanashi's neighbor. Shizuoka is the capital of green tea. I know many people hate it, but the rest of us, the ones who are in the undoubtedly and absolutely right, really need to visit here for a drink. And when their inhabitants are not drinking green tea, they are most likely eating sakura shrimps. And we're closing the Chubu region with its southernmost prefecture, Aichi. Remember our video about Koreans being absolutely ruled by their most important company, Samsung? Which if you haven't seen, you should go after this one, by the way. Well, imagine that, but in a smaller geographical scale, with less kimchi, but more sushi, and with Samsung exchanging roles with Toyota. It almost feels nothing here that isn't Toyota or their massive city Nagoya have a place in the conversation. Also, Nagoya residents are often teased for being flashy, yet thrifty, given that they seem to spend huge amounts on weddings and cars while hunting for the ridiculously smallest possible discounts on groceries. And now we're moving to one of the few regions most weebs can actually name, Kanto. It is a nostalgic region home to Pallet Town, in which you can find wild rattatas, beedrills, and an occasional Pikachu. Oh, wait a moment, wrong script. Reality is that Kanto is the center and heart of the entire country, the big metropolis, where every building is a masterclass of engineering and architecture, but also where people is oftenly viewed as more elitist, workaholic, and all that stuff that I've been mentioning on past videos. A place where both the very best and the very worst of capitalism converges and explodes. At the very north of the region, we will be encountering Tochigi, a vast and fertile blend of rugged mountains and plains, covered with an innumerable amount of strawberry plantations, like they believe C vitamin overdose is gonna make them immortal. If you think being submerged in strawberries isn't extreme enough, you'll be surprised to hear that, while you're eating pork or turkey for New Year's Eve, these gigachads are eating sharks, and it is only just a matter of time until some future genius has the occurrence of mixing the shark meat with strawberries. Then we have the center of Japan, not the cultural or economic center, but rather the literal cultural center, Gunma. It is a mountainous region in which people really want to play baseball or go snowboarding, but where the kurokaze oftenly have other plans. Some weird air current that blows kind of hard, but also is really hard to breathe in, dries out your skin, hurts inside your nose, and blows your clothes away as you forgot to get them inside after hanging at the yard the whole day. It is a weird phenomenon that is caused by the shape of the mountains, and the way the strong winds moving between them loses wetness and is really dry by the time it hits the population. The reason why you normally are outside, and the constant brushing against the wind doesn't hurt you, is because it has some wetness that makes it slip softly. Without that, it has the capacity of canceling sports and ruining the day for everyone, like in Gunma, or something like that. I don't know, better ask a graduated windologist, I'm just a YouTuber. A bit to the east, and although it doesn't seem like slightly to the south, you see Ibaraki. It is really agricultural. Not to say if they suddenly disappeared for some reason, every Tokyoite would have starved by next morning. This one is known for two things. First being the natto, fermented soybeans that are an absolute delicatessen through the entire nation, but one that the rest of the world seem not to like that much. And second, Yankees. And if that sound like USA, it is because this is a subculture of youth Japanese that happen to find some sort of charm in the 80s gangster and criminal American aesthetic from pop culture. So they go everywhere vandalizing, as the good old American style, just with less guns of course. Now moving into Saitama, and no, not the bald one. It is a giant suburb. There is this inside joke that it should be renamed to Dasaitama, a wordplay, since Dasai literally means lame, boring, or not cool, just like the PNGs masked as animation in the last season of One Punch Man. This happens because the entire prefecture is treated as a mere neighborhood, where people working in Tokyo stops by just so they can sleep. Still, it is probably the most common setting in anime of all the prefectures, not bad for a place mocked as lame Tama. Bit to the west, we got Chiba. It is the other Tokyo neighbor, a peninsula that provides beaches and Tokyoites tend to visit on free days. Trace a perimeter around the coastline and you'll notice how the part facing the beach is pure local tourism, and the part more to the interior is pure industry and factories. Also, most of those attractions for gaijins such as Disneyland Tokyo or the Tokyo German Village are actually here, not in Tokyo, so that's a kind of scam there. They have a rivalry with Saitama, kinda like there is a debate if it is better to have where to sleep every night or where to go to have fun at Sundays. Now we gotta head into the big boy, Tokyo. What can I say about Tokyo that you, a weeb who watched every season of Tokyo Ghoul, doesn't know already? Well, I can tell you that there is some kind of internal joke saying that the true Edoko, which means the native Tokyoites, are pretty much extinct. Kinda true, considered the city at some point was completely invaded by every kind of Japanese, but Tokyoites, perhaps cause of the cultural differences despite being from the same nation. But there is this conception of Tokyoites being distant and cold. They would be considered rude by pretty much the rest of the world, but Japanese just picture them as focused. As a fun fact, there is a stigma about a neighborhood called Adachi. Pretty much it is the ghetto, the place where you are the most exposed, a place where you leave your bicycle alone for 2 minutes and it will be gone. The absolute worst of Japanese society on its decadence, at least to the Japanese. Most of the disturbingly horrifying ghetto experiences I could find over the internet are that drunk dudes are oftenly kind of loud at 2 a.m. and it is actually the place to get real nice food at real nice prices. Don't worry, it isn't like you're gonna start hearing shoots midnight, as in the actual ghettos around the rest of the world. Time to move into Kanagawa. It has a big port in the city of Yokohama, and the whole prefecture is portrayed as modern, close to Tokyo, and it is somewhat idealized by Tokyoites. It is home to several residential districts that are highly desired among Japanese. People living in there will oftenly feel the need to let you know they're not only from Kanagawa, but they're straight up living in a nice residential area in Yokohama. They're kinda proud about their reputation. Are you enjoying the video? Want more like this? Maybe from other countries? Show some love then. Share it with friends. The future of this content depends on your support. Let me know in the comments what you think. This took hours of editing and research, so I'll split the rest into a part 2 video coming soon. Meanwhile, check out this one here about Chinese. Will make you laugh.